Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing our final How to Draft the Perfect Fantasy Draft Guide video of this Madden cycle. There will be actually another fantasy draft guide though, and that is because my definition of perfect is different to some other people's. Perfect for some people may be best. That's not perfect to me. Perfect is ideal, the most ideal. For me, that is having the certain positions set and others where you have to develop. Some people think perfect is Mahomes. My definition of perfect is a youngster that you have to develop. I don't like drafting, the best quarterback, having that set. I like having a youngster. If you're like me like that, you want to develop quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends on your own, this is the perfect one. But I will have a best one where I will attempt to at least try to get the top 3 pick, specifically probably pick 1 overall, and draft the very best possible team, like the likes of, Mahomes, the fastest wide receivers possible, this, and this. Now, the perfect one will still have a lot of speed and all that, but it'll be perfect for my idea, which once again is developing those fun players. Now, as far as trying to follow this, you're going to want to make sure that you are up to date, which I suppose that's kind of irrelevant to do there. That would just be if you already have the file, but some people might not actually have the updated roster, which to find out, you literally just click update roster, and if you have it, you have the latest roster. Boom. So you have the same roster as me. If you're going to follow this, you're going to, do this, whatever it is. Some of you guys just watch these because it's fun to watch a fantasy draft. I do it all the time. So, there's that. Now, for this, how to, start a fantasy draft, very simple. Go to active roster, let the roster fill up. If it ever wants to, thank you. Choose your team, whatever. We have the Packers on this one. Starting point, fantasy draft, boom. And then one of the other things you pretty much have to do, in my opinion, is turn pre-existing injuries off. Other than that, though, you're set. Now, we are here in the actual fantasy draft that we're going to be rolling with, which is around pick 15. I really debated this and another class I had, or another draft pick I had, where I had picked 23 and Max Crosby was there. I always want to go with an edge rusher in the very first round, as it is a very tough position to get a very good player. A guy like Myles Garrett, who definitely would fit in the best category as well, not just the perfect, is just a guy I like to go for all the time because he is just so elite, and for a fact that you're going to have at least one edge rusher that's going to give a lot of pressure on the other side where they're just going to have to worry about him all game long. So that is going to be my first pick. It is Myles Garrett. Obviously, if you wanted a quarterback, round 1, it's traditionally, believe it or not Josh Allen at 2. It's Mahomes at 1, Burrow at 2, and Josh Allen at 3. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but I think Josh Allen is so much more fun in-game than Burrow. Burrow has a sick release, which makes him really tough to stop, but as you can see here, Joe Burrow at 2, Josh Allen at 3, Lamar Jackson at 4. I mean, if I was going to go for one of the OP options, it would be 1, 3, or 4, in my opinion, as I think those are the best options. This is kind of how it goes. I've seen Jamar Chase slip to the second round before. I've also seen Parsons go to 20, so this isn't going to always be perfect. This is definitely not going to always be perfect. Dexter Lawrence, way sooner than I was expecting. The last one I did, he was there in the 4th round. Dexter Lawrence going this early is really surprising to me. So, I mean, it's all over the place at times, but for the most part, the guy that will be linked in Josh Jacobs going this high. Not a common sight at all. I've seen him in the 6th round. But these star dev guys are a little iffy, but for the most part, it should be pretty close. The fantasy drafts, the logic has changed quite a bit. Before, it was pretty static. You knew what you were getting into pretty much every round. But this time, now ever since last Madden's kind of late update, the AIs do kind of sporadically grab players. So it's a little bit tougher to, get a full beat on it. But as far as, who I would have taken, I wouldn't have taken Josh Jacobs anyways, but he was kind of one of my projected steals later. I'm really shocked he's gone. I'm trying to think of who's there at running back just to see if that's, kind of like Derrick Henry's still there, who's an X factor, and Josh Jacobs, who I believe is only a star in the game, is, it's like I wouldn't expect Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry to go after Josh Jacobs ever in a fantasy draft. So like I said, take each of these with a grain of salt. It's not going to be perfect because it just can't be. the game is too sporadic. Players go at different times, and it's just impossible to keep up with. But we're going to try to follow it as much as possible. We're going to try to have the best, or the perfect team, if you will. And if you guys enjoy these videos, maybe helps you out, you just enjoy them in general, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe if you're new. And yeah, I don't know if we'll have the best fantasy draft guide out like the same day, but within the next week, we'll probably do some rebuilds with these kind of guides as well, maybe with these teams specifically as well. But let's continue. With this next pick, it is a very tough decision, but it's an offensive lineman. It's a position that you can't really have fun developing, in my opinion. You know, who's like, you know, developing a lineman. It's like, oh my God, +3 to the pass block finesse. Yes, I'm glad he's developing. It's like, you don't really care about those positions. You just want good linemen. And Tristan Wirfs is a superstar with, I believe, secure protector. It's a really tough position to go for either him or Ronnie Stanley, but I do know a lot of players and a lot of people, they play these franchises a long time. You know, if you play more than 5 seasons, Stanley's probably not your guy, but he has even better abilities. But I think for the idea of perfect, for me, is always the youngest possible, if possible, and that in this case will be Tristan Wirfs at 23 years old. Second round lineman, but he's a superstar. You can't develop a line. Well, actually, you can now. You can get best award, but you're not going to get that with like an 80 overall anyways. You got to get someone in the 90s to win best lineman anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I had Jonathan Taylor going early round 2, and he's still here. He's still here. What else do we have? I suppose Derrick Henry was expected to be here, but I did notice the player that I do want is still there, which is nice. And I'm having a really tough time with this one because Rashawn Gary is there, which is a super steal if you decide not to go with a pass rusher in the first round. I just think that's almost too overpowered to have 2 superstar plus edge rushers out the gate that are both young. I think it's too OP. And it's a little early, but I think I might have to, if I want cornerback, grab Denzel Ward in the 4th round. Quentin Williams is a 4th round mid guy, but Sauce Gardner's gone already, and I want Quentin Williams a lot. And DT is a really hard position to get in these fantasy drafts, and not the easiest to develop from the draft, so Quentin Williams is going to be my guy. Jordan Davis was still there, and he is superstar, but he is so raw. He's like 70 power move, 77 block shed. That's just too big of a drop-off from Quentin to go for the dev. And there are a ton of options, and I don't want to go cornerback much because I still have a guy like Tariq Woolen later, but Denzel Ward is just always such a good player. I think starting maybe next Madden or Madden after that, that's when you're starting to think, okay, maybe Denzel Ward isn't as much of a steal as he used to be, but he still is at this point at 25, so Denzel Ward. And really the hardest thing about this whole, what is it called, fantasy draft video is really just not who to take, but just so many players so far that are just either there when they're not supposed to be or gone when they're not supposed to be, and it's really hard to keep up in that, kind of situation. Now, if you want a guy, because you like the rookies, a guy like Drake London would be gone by pretty much next round, most likely. So if you want a guy like him, this is the time to get him, which I would like to go for him, but I like developing even lesser wide receivers than that. There's a good chance that if Jameson Williams lines up where he's supposed to go, I probably do go with him, but the value is just so great there. And he is still, not a fully developed prospect, obviously. Surprisingly enough, with this pick, I'm going to go with lineman again. The value with Creed Humphrey going early in the 6th round, still being here, is amazing. I will say that pass block finesse worries me, but you could play him at tackle and be completely fine with it. Just upgrade pass protector. That's really all he needs anyways, and you're good to go. 89 overall, 24-year-old lineman. Once again, it's almost a little OP because you're getting really good linemen, but it's not positions that are going to break the game. For me, like I said, that's the definition of perfect, is not breaking the game. If I wanted to break the game as much as possible, I'd go with DK Metcalf or Jamar Chase in the 1st round, or obviously quarterback, one of the top ones, because those guys just beat the coverage so easily. You just run a streak, it's a GG. But I like developing players the right way. And right now, I'm really having a tough time not going Frank Ragnow, but I also know that in fairness, the rookie draft is very high on linemen. You could probably easily fill up an entire lineman group of hidden, O-line just in the 3rd to 4th rounds. And with that knowledge, I think I have to just pass on that, Kenneth Walker goes soon, and he is so good. If you guys watch the Seahawks series, obviously he's just insane, and he's even better here at the starting platform. It's just, once again, do you consider that too developed? Is it even fun to rock a guy that's already that good? I don't know. And you know what? I think it is. Kenneth Walker is really fun. He's the dude. He's the guy. And right now, pure value, pure OP, pause, Ness. Antoine Winfield's hard to beat. 24 years old, 89 speed, 88 zone. But safety is one of the most easy to get positions in the game, and obviously you can develop that, which is super fun. Let's, for example, round 28 is when I have Nick Cross going, who's like max speed 20-year-old safety, which, once again, if this is the best class, I'm probably grabbing Winfield here, but this is not. So if that's more your thing, definitely wait for that video to come out, because it could be quite the team. And I guess I'm just still going to go Antoine Winfield. The value is there. He's a great player. There's not really much else I can do about it. He's just so good, I have to go for him. And now this is about a round early, but there are a lot. And I honestly think this upcoming round, it has more talent in it than the last round. Crazy to think, does. And because of that, we might have to start reaching just so we can get multiple players. Otherwise, you're going to lose them, obviously, because you only get to take one player per round. If you have 3 guys in one round you really like, it's like, uh-oh. But Tariq Woolen's a guy that you would get in like mid to late 9th, but he's so good, I want him now, and that's when we're going to take him. It is mid-round 9, and in round 10, around 23, we have Jameson Williams, who, if he is still there, might be my pick now, because once again, we have not had a secure really round where every single player has gone exactly as expected. There's been rounds where guys go a whole round early, a couple rounds early even, and a guy like Jameson Williams is impossible to lose. You lose him and you just look dumb. And I think with that knowledge, we're going to reach again, as really there's not such thing as a reach when you land someone this good. 98 speed at 6'2"? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a reach. Right now, I would say the main positions would be between Isaiah Simmons, Trey Hendrickson, who for the best draft class would probably be taken here. But for me, once again, I like to develop my at least one edge, one DT, one corner, one wide receiver, those kind of positions. I wouldn't go for them because then, we have the edge set with super great players. So I'm going to go for someone later, like, I don't know, like Nick Benito or something. But as far as, the best options right now, it would be between Simmons, Trey Hendrickson, and I believe my last one would have been Noah Fant. I think it's a little early. I mean, this is where he goes, but I don't know. I have other options. I think I'm going to take Noah Fant. He's still so talented. And I want one kind of decent linebacker that's not just completely raw. He is still really raw, but with really good tackling, insane athleticism, I think he's a good pick. Jamin Davis at 23 years old is, I think, worth it. Now, this is the round where early in the next round, Daxton Hill would be gone, but I like Lewis Cine better anyways, and he goes a little bit later. Also, Zeke is coming up. If, you want an older running back that's solid still, he's insane value at this point. And we're going to go a little early again. Tyler Smith is normal dev, but his value as a 21-year-old 79, everything's 80 across the board lineman, I think is pretty damn good. So we're going to land our third offensive lineman of this draft. Really glad we didn't go Frank Ragnow now because, that is the way it is. Daxton Hill going actually a little bit later than I would have expected, which means Lewis Cine should be there, who I think is absolutely worth taking. The hit power, the speed, the size combination is just super rare, and that's who we're going to take, who's about, maybe a round early, but totally fine. 2 safeties we have now, which I don't like having 2 safeties before round like 25, so, it is what it is, but best available, that's who it is, in my opinion. Best and most fun available, I should say. And it really sucks because, the positions we're missing aren't cornerback, but some of the best positions available are corner. Caleb Farley's going to go soon, and he's just so athletically beastly. One of the biggest positional needs or, skill needs is speed at that position, obviously. He can run with anyone, and he's so good. And safeties, there's still tons of safeties that are decent, but it's just not the positions we need. And I'm honestly struggling on who to draft. I'm going to grab insane value with Charvarius Ward. It's so tough because he's just so good for, where he goes. He goes around 15, maybe 16. He's just so good. and I just can't pass on him. It's simple, just like the Antoine Winfield decision. It's just too good to pass. And that's with guys like Eric Stokes at round 20. It's just, what can I do? I got to take the best available when there's nothing else to take. There's these rounds that are in between where there's just nobody go for. This round, I will say, there is crazy value yet again with Hufanga. And once again, do I not take best value? And even though we don't really need safety, I'm going to take him. So Lewis Seen, Hufanga, and Antoine Winfield are the 3 safeties we have, which I suppose a lot of schemes do use 3 safeties quite a bit. It's just got like Nick Cross and all those guys later on. It's just their best value by a mile. And I have no one else to take right now. You could trade them off if you really wanted to, because I don't know what else to take. Once again, we're reaching a little early, but I do like Baron Browning a lot. He's another one of those development guys. Was going to go with Zach Allen, but at 25 years old, I don't really like, he's just not super fun to develop. So Baron Browning's going to be my choice. A little early, but I think he's a good pick. And once again, we're reaching, most of my quarterbacks are around 19 to 22, but plenty. And I'm not even just talking about this Madden. Plenty of my fantasy drafts, the quarterbacks have just decided to go when they want to go. Now, this is also, once again, what you think about for fun, what you're aiming for. If you're aiming for, you didn't grab a quarterback early, but you still want the most overpowered, I think it's Jordan Love. His Gunslinger 1 throw style is so hard to stop because it zips. I'm not really too fond of the other 2 quarterbacks' throwing styles. I think they're pretty generic, if I'm not mistaken, but still super fun quarterbacks. As far as the most fun quarterback you can get, I would probably say that's Malik Willis. And as far as, kind of the trend and theme of this rebuild goes, Malik Willis, that sounds like fun. Fun is what we're aiming for, right? So, actually, I do want to see one thing. And it is a very important one. If you're in a league or you're playing on your own and you're not changing any traits, which, I would recommend. Otherwise, where do you stop, right? If you're going to change your quarterback's throwing style, unless you're doing something more realistic because maybe EA doesn't have it similar to real life, where do you stop with that kind of stuff? If you're not changing any traits, you have to go Ritter compared to Willis, as they're pretty similar, but the difference is ideal sense of pressure versus Willis's paranoid, which makes so much of a difference in the game. So Desmond Ritter is going to be our choice, and I think finding an easy franchise quarterback in round 17, which we could have waited even longer, is a steal. Look at these ratings. They're great. 79 deep, 79 medium, 80 short. Throw power is fine. Under pressure could use some work, but being in a lower overall, you should be able to develop pretty quickly still. And we're doing another reach, kind of. It's like next round is when he's supposed to go. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, because of the normal development trade, is still here, despite being a 79 overall and a jump ball guru, 94 jump, 90 spec, 91 catch, 89 catch in traffic at 6'2" is really good. And obviously, because he's so young, definitely has plenty of time to develop all those other ratings, which aren't even that bad anyways. So now you have your top 2 wide receivers and still have room for a 3rd and 4th that you can develop for fun. And for our DT2 spot, I actually really like Aleem McNeil for a guy that's supposed to be this kind of nose tackle, very athletic, 76 power move, 74 block shed, young. He's a fun type of dude, so we're going to grab Aleem McNeil to be DT2. Maybe fits a little more in a 3-4, but athleticism's off the charts. And if you didn't already have your 3rd corner, you definitely want to go with Eric Stokes. His value here is insane. He's easily built to be a number 1 or a number 2 cornerback. It's just we have our 3 corners already, and then some, if you want to argue that maybe Antoine Winfield could be another one. But at this point, even though it does feel like a reach, I really love Nakobe Dean in the game, so Nakobe Dean's going to be my guy at 21 years old. Okay athleticism, linebackers don't really jump anyway. Very raw, but great hit power, very good change of direction, super speedy Nakobe Dean. We should still be able to land someone like Troy Anderson a little bit later as well. And just curious, is Malik Willis still there? He is still there. So Malik Willis is kind of expected to go next round, so if you decide not to go that route, that's what I would do. But this is where you take the immense value of Connor Williams, the 25-year-old that's basically like Tyler Smith, but he's a little bit older, so he won't develop as fast. So obviously, if you're trying to get Tyler Smith to be one of those cornerstone pieces, definitely can. Whereas Connor Williams, yeah, he's probably going to be about above average for the rest of his career, but he'll never get to the 90s. Whereas Tyler Smith very well could. And I think for kind of your last ditch effort, if you miss on all those quarterbacks, Matt Corrales here. Don't know what his actual sense of pressure traits are, but definitely a solid quarterback you can still use at this point. It's just obviously we have our guy. And now when we don't need a running back, I love the value of Brian Robinson. He's going to be expected to go early next round, so super fun backfield with Brian Robinson, backing up Kenneth Walker at this point. Another fun option would have been this round / early next round Jamal Williams, but obviously he's a little bit older. Value is not quite as good as Brian. And then if you're trying to be super cheesy, which, our wide receiver group's already pretty damn good, Quez Watkins this round. But personally, I want to go more youthful. And as far as that wide receiver spot goes, I think it's between Romeo Doubs and Treylon Burks. But Treylon Burks, for fun, I don't know what it is about Treylon Burks, but I really like him. I think it's because he kind of has running back traits as well. I do really like him, but I think he's just a little too non-athletic. Whereas Romeo Doubs is, very similar in build, maybe not in the weight category, but we know how Madden works. It doesn't really matter about the weight. But way better release, a lot more athletic, and super fun. So that's our new wide receiver 3, technically. Now, a little broken and may even make you want to decide should you start him over Noah Fant is Chigoziem Okonkwo. And I think he's still valuable here. I think it's a fun pick. You don't always throw your backup tight end, but he might get a couple 100 yards on the season. And who better to do that for you than some mismatch at that position? And now with this one, I think I'm going to go with a lineman. And look at who I'm hovering over. It's not going to be Kendrick Green. I think he's just so raw now in the game. He's not worth taking. He's just not worth taking. Look at how bad that is. That is not a long-term starter, whereas Parham, maybe you still want to go youthful in the next upcoming draft. A little bit better. Definitely a little bit more solid. Obviously, the strength's not great, but strength is iffy at times in-game anyway. So Dylan Parham is the choice there. And for our next pick, backup James Houston, 23 years old, with 77 power move and really good athleticism for... He's 6'12", I guess, not for that size, but decent athleticism, I suppose. Now, this is the round where if you wanted the very best kicker, technically Justin Tucker's there. However, if you don't care about Justin Tucker, you can literally get Evan McPherson past round 38, which I'm not really sure why you'd want Tucker over him anyways in game, unless you're only doing a year or two. He's just not worth it at his age. And I really like Logan Hall as, you can kind of play him on the interior or the exterior. And that's who I'm going to take. There's a chance Nick Cross is gone by the time we sim this pick here, but at the end of the day, we already have 3 safeties. There's still other safeties we can go with even, but I think there is still a chance he might still be here. And Brian Cook was one of my other options. He's not as fast, but he's still pretty fun. JT Woods is another option. Percy Butler, obviously. There's just so many options, so us losing him isn't the end of the world. We're going to go with some more, kind of busted behavior, if you will. Kind of a poor man's Jameson Williams, Tyquan Thornton. And at this point, there's no real great option where you're oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have went for this guy instead. So kind of just taking who I think is valuable, athleticism-wise and all that. Very raw coverage, Leo Chanel. But if you're just going to only use him, obviously that doesn't matter because it's all about your decision-making. And, that's probably who I would use her if I was going to start him. If you want some more edge depth, I suppose Josh Pascal's not bad, 22 years old, youngster, 75 block shed, decent strength for an edge, if you will. That'll be our choice here. We're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty. There's not really, like I said before, a definite position where you have to go this one guy. This round, I suppose if JT Woods is there, this would be the great time to choose him. How low of an overall? There he is, super fast, athleticism, JT Woods. Great pick, and this pick I might go with someone like Spencer Brown if he's there, just because he's a big, tall dude. I love those big, tall dudes. Although Tyler Batty I think would be gone by next round, and Tyler Batty is a little bit more fun, but we already have a bunch of running backs, so it probably doesn't matter. Although I actually can't even see him unless I just missed him. But if Spencer Brown is there, I'm going to take him just because he's a big freaking dude, and it's fun. 6'8" tackle. He's 24 and he's super raw, but it's fun, you know. You see an injury and he comes in, you're almost excited for it, you know. I'm always terrible with his name, but super good value. Here is Tyler Biadasz, so a couple of Cowboys players, if you will. You know, Connor Williams, he's not even on the Cowboys anymore, right? Like, I think he's, you know, technically, I don't know, whatever. And don't worry, we didn't forget about Troy Anderson. Don't worry, he's still on the team. Why not get a third tight end, Albert Okwuegbunam, super fast, decent size. Another really good value center, Josh Myers, 24, but, you know, pretty damn solid, obviously, so we're going to grab him. You know, if you didn't want to go with that, you could have went Percy Butler, but we just have so many good safeties already that it probably doesn't matter too much. And honestly, this is kind of where I cut off my guide, really. You just don't really need... There's no specific players anymore. It's just athleticism and what you need. You know, at this point, Eric McPherson, I would imagine is still the best kicker. I looked, you know, kind of into a couple of them and pretty sure he's still the best kicker. And then the best punter should still be Mr. Cole if he is there. I don't know. Let's take a look at devs. I think it's just him and Jack Fox. So, you know, by dev, AJ Cole is the best punter. And we don't have a fullback. You know, you kind of choose what you want. There's a bunch of different fullbacks if you're going for... We've done a recent experiment where it just didn't seem like it mattered, so you kind of just want to go with speed, which I think Gilliam might just be in general like the best choice because he's young, star development trait. So as far as like pure value goes, the best player remaining for fullback, probably Reggie Gilliam. You could probably grab Juszczyk and Riccardi. I mean, they're all going to still be there. Don't know if they have any value. I once again, for me, I don't really like to cheese it that way. So the players I draft are just kind of the guys I want to use themselves. I would have actually had Anthony Schwartz gone already, but he's still there. These are the types of players you're drafting at this point in the draft, you know. 96 speed, 95 excel, 21-year-olds. You know, you can't go wrong with them. That's how I like my women. I don't know what that means. Maybe could have done a little bit better on getting a backup quarterback, in fairness. At this point, you're kind of just betting on your guy not getting injured because I really didn't even think about one. Maybe a Cam Newton because I believe they have the mentor tag, which is like, you know, what I like to do. And obviously Cam Newton's such a fun name in NFL history. So Cam Newton for the mentor tag and just thinking a decent quarterback as your backup. You know, other really good names like Ty Chandler, Tyler Goodson because he's super young. Who else do you have? I mean, most of those guys are kind of older. Yeah, those are pretty much the two guys I would go with. I'd probably end up going with Mr. Ty Chandler just because he's kind of built to play long term. He's 24, but you know he's got a little bit better carrying and speed and all that. You know, there you go. Wouldn't even surprise me if maybe a guy like Calvin Austin's still there. Probably would have been gone, but you never know. You know, this so deep into the draft at this point, teams like see themselves as teams that don't even need players anymore at all. Turpin in real life is kind of a fun name, but I think he's on the older side, isn't he? Yeah, 26, so you'd probably rather go Bo Melton with that choice, which I suppose, why not? Bo Melton's like 23, I think. Bo Melton, decent kick returner if you don't have one. But yeah, it's just so easy for me to get wrapped up in this. Like, you just don't even like need to stop ever. Like, you can pretty much just draft forever. We have, pretty sure, every single position filled, though. Could use a little bit more linebacker depth, but we do have 4 guys anyways. Cornerback depth wouldn't hurt, but there should be still guys here. Let's see, like speed. Look, Kalen Barnes, first name shows up, 23-year-old, 97 speed corner. Boom, easy. Tyson Anderson's kind of a fun name. I'd maybe even put him at linebacker, just let him roam. But Tyson Anderson, because of his size, giving me, I don't know, not really the same size, but like Taylor Mays vibes for some reason. And then if you're really trying to cheese it, you could still go with, you know, really high value players that are still here. Like, is Ben Jones still here? He's not. But, you know, if you didn't land a great lineman, there's still tons. And in general, I probably would go with some of these guys just because, you know, they have the mentor tag a lot of the time. So Dwayne Brown's a good choice there. Pretty damn sure, like I've mentioned before, if Randall Cobb doesn't have the mentor tag, nobody at wide receiver deserves it. He's like the ultimate mentor. So we're going to go with Randall Cobb because of that. You know, get more XP at those positions. Same at cornerback. Janoris Jenkins. I don't know offhand exactly who has the tag, but I think 20, it's either 32 or 33 that, you know, that's when you can get it. So Janoris Jenkins maybe, hopefully, has the tag. Oh, Keyshawn Nixon. I didn't even think about him. It's just not a guy, because he's not the youngest technically, but that's a super fun kick returner we could have went for. And then out the gate, we get a mentor rookie. Who the hell is even for? I've seen this for wide receivers, so it could be. It is for Brian Robinson. So we start with a superstar running back. Now, I'm not saying if you drafted the exact same team as me, this would happen for you, but I mean, that's kind of crazy. Is Kenneth himself not even superstar? I'm pretty sure he's only star as well. So it's like he's basically mentoring his replacement almost. It's like, what? Yeah, he's only star, so it's like, huh? All right, so we have what the roster looks like. Now, if you're into the full realism where you don't even allow yourself to move the linemen, you could easily just keep Tyler Smith at left tackle, Humphrey at center. It doesn't really matter. But, I typically like to have the very best players at tackle, which is, kind of what we went with. Really love the move of Tristan Wirfs. At first I was kind of like, man, that is high, but secure protector is obviously really good. Natural talent. I mean, what does it even say? I guess it's okay, but insanely talented, obviously, and just young as hell. But in general, just a really good player and super young. But offense in general, it's a team that needs to be developed, and that is the most fun for franchise. I mean, I think if everyone wanted 99 everythings, you would just play Ultimate Team, right? But Ritter obviously needs help. Jameson doesn't really need much help, but he can develop. Peoples-Jones definitely can get better. Dobbs can definitely get better. Kenneth Walker can get better, and then Fant obviously can get better. He's already getting better with that upgrade point. And then defense, a bit raw, but cornerback, it's not really the most fun position to develop because you can't really use the players as much, which is why I don't. I mean, safety maybe a little bit more because you probably use them a little bit more, but most people don't use their corners often, so it's a position I don't mind too much having already set, whereas edge, DT, I like to have at least one position of each to develop. You can manually use her, then obviously the linebackers I love to develop manually all the way across the board, and then safety, Hufanga, you can still use her and all that, but as far as corners, that's the position I don't mind having the best of on defense, because like I said, it's just not a position I'm going to use her much, specifically the boundary, so there's that. And yeah, I think it's a really good team in general, 84 overall, and as far as like who you can develop, what positions you can develop, there's a lot of fun guys you can still develop in there, so definitely nice. And then basing our overall against the rest of the league, I mean, it seems like we're actually on par, if not better than the majority of the league, despite the fact that we went with a lot of youthful players and we don't have the franchise quarterback technically. Ritter is an option. He's the guy that I would definitely develop, and I think he has a lot of potential with the speed and all that and youth, but you could still draft QB, which, once again, another super fun aspect of franchise. So that is my definition of the perfect fantasy draft rebuild guide. I mean, or, team guide. We will have a best rebuild guide at some point, fantasy, guide at some point. I don't know if it would be today or sometime later in the week, maybe next Saturday, but definitely keep an eye on that if that's what you're looking for. Probably looking to grab either Mahomes, Burrow, or Josh Allen, so definitely, going to be looking at that. And, yeah, that's the team. Probably will rebuild this team just to see how, it goes. Curious to see if Ritter can develop. It's a tougher rebuild team, a Madden rebuild team where you're not playing the games because, the wide receivers aren't the greatest out-the-gate gods, and your quarterback's Ritter. He's 69 overall, but still tons of potential, so I'd still put our money on it that we'll do fine, so we probably will end up rebuilding this team at some point, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this one, whether you just thought it was interesting or it helped you, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe if you're new. If you're not new, really appreciate your continued support. Maybe check out the second channel, PK Plays, for non-Madden content, which is what we've been playing, is Hogwarts Legacy. And it's been a lot of fun. Should have had one yesterday uploaded there, and then probably tomorrow will be another. And follow me on Twitter, Jeromepkr. I don't know if I mentioned that. And then Seattle Seahawks franchise a little bit later today. That's about it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys come back for next video. But until next video...